Hello, you're looking at 4 questions about frequency, how often people do something, and how the questions are answered. Now let's take a closer look at the answers. As you can notice, the first problem with these answers is that they're just too short for IELTS speaking. More seriously, some of the answers are not relevant to the questions asked, like, do you often eat out? I prefer to eat at home. Hello everyone, I'm Ivy, the founder of Speak Pro IELTS. In today's video, I want to show you the template to answer the questions about frequency or how often people do something effectively. This kind of questions is very common in the IELTS speaking test. In particular, I want to show you first of all the answer template, so you know exactly the kind of information you have to include in your answers about frequency. In addition to that, you will need functional language, so you can express yourself clearly and logically. And last but not least, obviously, we will need to do some practice with each other using the answer template and the functional language. Okay, let's get started. When someone asks you about how often you do something or whether or not you do something often, the first thing you should mention is, obviously, how often. This is the most important part of your answer. And in order to talk about frequency, you need adverbs of frequency. You know, things like, okay, notice the pronunciation of the first adverb. It's habitually, with the stress on the second syllable, habitually. Instead of saying every day or weekly, you can say on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, for example. There are some good phrases instead of sometimes. You can say once in a while, curl your tongue, while, or from time to time. We also have annually, biannually, biennially. Can you hear the difference between the two adverbs? Biannually, which means twice a year, and biennially, which means once every 2 years. If you're not sure which means what, you'd better use twice a year or once every 2 years. Once every fortnight. A fortnight is a period of 2 weeks. Once in a blue moon is an idiom, which means rarely. When you want to say you rarely do something, you can also say you hardly ever do it. You can use hardly ever with inversion sentences. For example, you can say, hardly ever do I exercise. After mentioning how often you do something, the next step is to say when you do it in particular. Now, let me show you some examples. 1. I wear jewelry once in a blue moon, probably on formal occasions only. As you can see, we have the how often part, once in a blue moon, and the when part, on formal occasions only. This is not a complete answer, but at this time, you have mentioned the 2 most important parts of your answer already. Now let's take a look at some other examples. As a shopaholic, I go shopping as often as possible, whenever I have free time. I have a specific schedule of workouts. I go to the gym on a daily basis, in the evening after I finish housework. Step 3, which is also the final step, is to explain why you do something, and more importantly, why you do something that often. You may be thinking, what's the difference between the 2 why questions here? Let me show you. Remember this example? I go shopping as often as possible, whenever I have free time. Well, I have prepared 2 reasons for you. Let's take a look. 1. because buying things I love is a great way to enjoy life. 2. Because I'm a shopaholic. Now, let's think about these 2 reasons. Can you guess which reason answers the why you go shopping and which reason answers the why you go shopping as often as possible? Okay, if your answer is correct, then you know the difference between the why you do something question and why you do something that often question already. Well, in step 3, you can mention both kinds of reasons here, why you do something and why you do something that often. But in my opinion, why you do something that often is more important. Generally speaking, I think there are 4 main reasons why people do something or why people do something at a particular level of frequency. They are time, health, budget or money, and interest. Now, let me show you how to put these 4 ideas in complete sentences. Okay, you can say you do something or you don't do something at a particular level of frequency because of your hectic schedule. Hectic is an adjective. It means fast or full of activities. In other words, you're busy. Or you can say you're not fit enough. Or you have quite a tight budget. A tight budget means quite a limited amount of money for something. And finally, something is not of interest to you. If something is not of interest to you, it's not interesting to you. Now, do you remember the answer templates? Let's review before we go to the practice part. When someone asks you about how often you do something or whether or not you do something very often, the first thing you should mention is the how often part. And don't forget to use adverbs of frequency like once in a while or once in a blue moon. They are interesting phrases that can get you a high score in terms of vocabulary. Step 2 is to mention the specific time when you do something. And step 3 is to state reasons why you do something, and more importantly, why you do something at a certain level of frequency. And don't forget the 4 reasons that I mentioned earlier. What you've been watching is part of the IELTS speaking course templates that I create. This course will provide you with the answer templates and cohesive features or linking words and linking phrases, so you can deal with a wide range of question types in the IELTS speaking test. Question number 1. Do you often wear jewelry? This is a step-by-step answer. If you don't have any idea yet, you can use mine. And I highly recommend that you pause the video for a while so you have more time to practice. Your answer can be something like this. Well, I have to say that I wear jewelry just once in a while, often on special occasions like birthdays or weddings. I usually put on a necklace or a pair of earrings on those occasions because I think jewelry is really elegant and it can be a great status symbol. But as you can imagine, wearing jewelry all the time is really inconvenient and uncomfortable. That's why I just put some pieces of jewelry on very special occasions. Question number 2. How often do you go to the museum? I have to admit that I go to the museum just once in a blue moon, only when it's the compulsory school activity, I think. I know that a lot of people really enjoy taking in museums because it's a great way to know more about relics and antiques, but honestly, they're not of much interest to me. Question 3. How often do you eat out? Well, let's see. I think I can say that my family and I are in the habit of going to a restaurant with each other on a weekly basis, often on weekends. Honestly, I prefer home-cooked meals because I think that they are always nutritious. But my mom says she wants a break from the daily routine. I mean, going shopping for food, cooking, and cleaning after a meal and things like that. And that's why my family and I dine out with each other on Saturdays or Sundays. That's the way we enjoy our life, I guess. Once again, if you're interested in my IELTS speaking course, Templates, which provides you with answer templates and cohesive features to handle various question types in the IELTS speaking test, register now. This course is particularly perfect for those who are struggling to come up with ideas and organize ideas. Thank you for watching, and I'm Ivy from Speak Pro IELTS. See you in the next lesson.